सर लाईव्ह केले, सुरू करा सर आता.
Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon. I am Dr. MUKUND. Okay. I am Dr. MUKUND from HGPS Homeopathic and Medical College, Kolhapur. Now, today we are going to discuss about the Constitution, because Constitution is the most important feature as far as homeopathic practice is concerned. If you know the constitution of the person, then it will be beneficial for the homeopathic physician, so that he can know so much detail about the constitution. The constitution is, in short, the physical makeup of the person. The constitution is the physical makeup of the person there. So you can define constitution as it is a structural constant creating build of the individual. It is the constant creating build of the individual. So here there is constantly some changes, metabolic changes, they are going to take place in the human body. So constitution is well defined as it is the structural constant creating build of an individual. And here this constitution, it will remain constant throughout the life of the person. This particular constitution will remain constitution will remain static, or constitution will remain constancy throughout the life there. So constitution is not so much affected. Constitution is not so much affected by the environmental features or other things. So it has got constancy or static state throughout the life there. So man receives some features from the from his ancestors, and some features from the environment to which he is brought up there. So it may undergo some modifications due to the some internal and external influences. But as such, the basic thing about the constitution, it remains fixed or it remains static there. Now, for example, just I want to give the example of the famous Marathi actor Swapnil Joshi. Now, you might have seen so many pictures like Dunyadari Mitwa of Swapnil Joshi, but now he is working at his young age there. But if you observe, when he worked as a child artist in the Uttara Ramayana or now the Krishna serial, so that particular thing, but in that condition also, we can identify that this child artist as a Swapnil Joshi only, because whatever constitution that actor has at the age of 6 to 7 years, same constitution will there will be change, but the basic concept will remain same, so that you can identify the person at the childhood or also at the adult age or also at the old age also. So the constitution, it will remain static or it has some constancy throughout the life there. Then the risk factor, there are some risk factors are there. So these risk factors of the person which show the risk factor which affect on the man, you have to find out not only in the environmental exposure, but you have to find out in the personality of the individual, that is the evolve or the acquired the evolve or the inherited constitution of the person, from which generally you get origin of the chronic miasms. Generally you get origin of the chronic miasm. So here, when you want to study the risk factors of the disease condition, you have to study the environment, but in addition, you have to also study the constitution. It may be the inherited, that which you get from the ancestor, or also the evolved constitution, that some changes which are taken place at the developmental stage or due to the environmental factor upon that particular influence. Now, this constitution or build or physical makeup is something more than the well-formed body. So, the constitution or physical makeup of the person, it is something more than the the well-formed body. So if the person is having a very bad constitution or weak constitution, he may be suffer or he will suffer from the disease condition very easily. He will suffer the disease condition very easily because of the bad or the weak constitution. But person having a very good body structure or very good constitution, he is also like to suffer from the disease condition. So you can't say the person having a very good constitution or well-structured body, he will not suffer from the disease condition. So constitution, the person who is having very bad or the weak constitution, he will suffer from the disease condition very easily, and the person having well-formed body, he may suffer from the disease condition. So it is not necessary to say that the person having good structured body, he will not suffer from any disease condition. Now the constitution. There are some developmental phases. The constitution is also affected through the developmental phases of the person. Now, since birth, person will pass from the different phases. Person will pass from the different phases which show certain influence on the constitution of that particular person. Or you can say more clearly, suppose a pregnant mother, if she take some inimical medicine which affect on the fetus in the uterine life, that will also affect on the constitution of that particular person. The drugs which are inimical to the growth of that particular fetus, it may show some bad effects on the constitution of the person. So person will pass from the different phases since birth to reach his present constitution or physical developed characteristic of his constitution. So there are some influences will be there during the developmental phases of that particular person. So here sometimes the past history may affect on the person, that any incident, any major incidents happen in the person's life, it may affect somehow on the constitution of the person, or some family history is important there, that will certainly have hereditary characteristic. So that will also show. So whatever since birth person has passed through the different developmental phases, that will certainly affect or influence the constitution of the person there. Then the person's constitution is have genetic or the hereditary effect. The constitution of the person, it has genetic or the heredity characteristic of his parents. So person constitution is affected by genetic or hereditary characteristic of the parents. Now the parents, they pass on the genes and chromosomes to the child. So parents, they pass on genes and chromosomes to the child there. So the chromosomes carry the genes, and chromosomes carries the genes, and genes will determine the personality of the person. So each chromosome may carry thousands of the genes. So every person will receive the there are total 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes in the human body. Out of that, 23 chromosomes, they are contributed from the father, and 23 are contributed from the mother. And the gene, it is a molecule of a chemical complex DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid. So gene is a molecule of complex chemical deoxyribonucleic acid, or you can say DNA. So each particular person will receive the half of the genes and half of the chromosome from the father and the mother. So there are total 23 pairs of the chromosome, out of which one chromosome, one pair, it is called as a sex chromosome, which will determine the sex of the person there. If it is XX, then there will be a female child, or if it is XY, then it will be the male child. Now, the genes, generally they will influence, generally the genes, they influence the characteristic, physical characteristic of the person. So genes generally influence the physical characteristic of person. For example, color of the eyes, shape of the nose, other facial structure and other physical characteristics, they are determined by the genes there. They are determined by the genes there. So normally you will find there are so many physical characteristics you will get which are genes will responsible for so many physical characteristics of the person there. Say for the shape of the nose, then the color of the eyes and other facial structure and different physical characteristics of the person, they are determined by the genes there. Then you will find our parents which pass on the chromosomes to the child, but the parent themselves, they receive the chromosomes from their parents there. So you will find there may be some similarity. There may be some similarity of the grandson with the grandparents there. So person may have certain similar physical similarities with their grandparents rather than the parents there. This is quite possible because grandparents they pass on chromosomes to the parents and parents they pass on the chromosome to the child there. So person may have some similarities or physical similarities to their grandparents, but these are heredity or the genetic features which we receive from the parents. But the any skill, any talent which is developed by the parents in their own life, which is the skill or the talent which is developed by the parents in their own life, it may not be passed. So it may be passed or it may not be passed to the child, to the children there. Now, for example, a great musician, he cannot pass his musical talent to his child. Okay, so it may pass or it may not pass there. But heredity characteristics, these are totally passed to the next generation. So genetic or hereditary effects will be physical characteristic or the constitution you will receive from your ancestors or the parents there. But any art, any skill, any talent which is developed by the parents in their own life, it may not be, it may be, or it may not be passed to the next generation. So this you get about the genetic and the hereditary effects there. Okay. Then this particularly constitution, it has some relation. So it is not only from this particular constitution, it is not only determined by the heredity alone, but it has some environmental effects also. So though we get so many physical characteristics or so many contribution of constitution by the parents or hereditary or genetic origin, but still for some features of constitution are also affected by what you consider the environmental structure. So constitution of a person, so constitution of a person, it is morphological, physiological and psychological resultant of the all the properties of the cellular and the humoral elements of the body. So the constitution is the morphological. Morphological is the physical structure, that is the different organs, parts, and other things are there that you call the morphological. Then the physiological. Physiological means there are different functions carried by different organs of the body. There are different functions which are carried by different organs of the body. So that you get physiological. And psychological, sometimes psychological effect may affect the constitution of the person because certain psychological effects may affect on the physiological functions of the body. For example, the stress and the strain, it may affect the certain secretions of the body. That is, we say the insulin there, and it may lead to the diabetes disease. So you may get, so here the constitution is total morphological, physiological and the psychological resultant of the all the properties. It is the morphological, physiological, and the psychological resultant of the all the properties of the cellular and the humoral elements of the body. The cellular elements means the different cells, tissues, organs, or the parts of the body. Cellular structure, it means the cells, tissues, organs, or the different parts of the body which is responsible for the particular constitution of the person. And the humoral elements, it is related with the behavior of the person. These are considered as a behavioral factors of the person there. So these humors, there are different humors are there. So if each person may have a particular humor or combination of the two humors may be there in the person there. So you can say there are different humors are there. It is well mentioned by Dr. Hippocrates, who is supposed to be the father of modern medicine, or also it is further explained. It is also further explained by the Dr. Galen also. So there are different humors are there. Say there are four types of the humors you will get. First is the blood, second is the phlegm, next is yellow bile, and the black bile. So the blood humor, it is characterized by. So how to identify blood humor? So blood humor is characterized by the person who is very cruel. He has tendency to harm the others. He is forgetful. He has criminal insanity, and he enjoys in the giving trouble to the other. He is cross, irritable, or deceitful. So many cruelty things are there which are dominated in the blood humor there. So in the blood humor, person is cruel, having criminal insanity. He is cross, irritable, revengeful. So these characteristics are well marked in the blood there. Now, if you consider the phlegm there, if you consider phlegm, so this particular person has a very slow activity. Physical activities are very slow because they have got well-formed body. They have got very slow interaction. They may be stubborn, morose, depressed, suspicious. So many things characterize the phlegm there. So phlegm, they are got very slow activity. Person having very slow activity in the phlegm. Then in the yellow bile, the persons they are very angry, so they become angry with the silly matter there. Then these particular persons are very clever persons, intelligent person, very sharp person, but physically they are very weak person. And if you consider the black bile, it is related this person. They are sad, worried, and anxious there. So they are always worried or they invite the trouble themselves there. So these are the different humors there. So every humor which is characterized by certain factors which have a very close relation with the constitution of the person there. So that is why the constitution is morphological, physiological, psychological resultant of the all the properties of the cellular and the humoral elements of the body. And when you get perfect coordination, perfect harmonious work, or the perfect balance of the cellular and the humoral activity, person can live harmoniously and he can perform his function very promptly. So, if you get the combination of these all cellular, that is the physical part of the body, cellular and the humoral elements there, if they are in combination, they are having a particular balance there. So just I mentioned, there is coordination or the perfect harmonious work or balance structure. So you get the balance and by that process you get functional output, that you get the functional output which takes place by metabolism process there. So when you get combination of the cellular or the humoral elements there, you have a balance and the functional output of its own in the given capacity for the adaptation and the mode of reaction to the environmental factors. So why a particular person has a peculiar response to the environmental factors, it is totally depend on the combination of cellular and the humoral elements there. In the process, they will have the balance and the functional output of its own, and in a given capacity for adaptation, given capacity for the adaptation and the mode of reaction, adaptation and the mode of reaction to the environmental stimuli. So that is why due to this cause, the person, though they have a similar constitution, that is, for example, members of the same family, they may respond differently to the environmental factor. So in a family, a brother and sister, they may react separately to the environmental factor. Now, for example, suppose a brother, he requires the fanning constantly, but sister, she does not require fanning. So these factors will totally depend on the cellular and the humoral combination. So they do have the similar constitution because they have much more similar features of the constitution because they are belong to the same family. But still, you will get different environmental reaction or certain environmental influence or environment factor may affect on the constitution of the person. It may affect on the constitution of the person there. Now, why you want to know about the constitution of the person or why constitution is important in the homeopathic therapeutics also? Because by if you identify or if you know the constitution of person, then when a well-selected remedy is given to a person from which he is suffering from, you will select the most similar drug, but still that drug will not show any favorable result there. So there is nothing wrong in the selection of remedy, or there is nothing wrong in the case taking. But here, in this condition, the constitutional intercurrent remedy is required. So if you find out the constitution of the patient, then if you give the constitutional remedy as an intercurrent dose in high potency, and then it is followed by the well-selected remedy, then you can get a favorable result. So that is why you must know the constitution of the person there. Now there is one case which was presented by one of the homeopathic physicians in the Pune. So he has given a history of a one patient. So a one female patient, age about 35 years, she went to that homeopathic physician for some gynecological problem. Then that homeopathic physician selected the remedy on the basis or all the complaints of that female. But still, after repeated prescription also, he didn't get any favorable result there. So disease was continued as it was. Then that doctor has given the constitutional remedy to that female. So he find out the constitution of that female, and that constitution was very much fit to the pulsatile drug. So her constitution was very much similar to the pulsatile drug. So that the holistic physician gave the pulsatile drug in high potency, one dose as an intercurrent remedy, and afterwards, which was the drug selected earlier, it was repeated afterwards, and that show a very good result, and she recovered totally from her complaints. So this is the constitutional drug of that female was the pulsatil. And just I mentioned earlier that the constitution of the person, it is remain constant or static throughout the life. Though you get some modification here and there due to metabolism, age factor, and other things, but the basic structure it will remain the same. So that is why I give the example of sublimation. So here person have basic structure having similar from each child to the old age there. You get some modification by the age factor, metabolism, and other things there. But the basic structure will remain same there. Now, if you decide, if you student, if you decide that you will meet after 25 years, because all the classmates of your batch, if you decide to meet after 25 years, so after 25, in the span of 25 years, there will be so many change will take place according to the age factor. But still, if you meet together, you are able to identify each and every classmate of your batch there, because the basic constitutional features of the person, it will remain same though you meet after 25 years also. So this constitution is the static state, or it is have certain constancy throughout the life. Then just like mentioning about the one case there, so that female whose constitutional remedy was pulsatilla, she met an accident when she was traveling on the moped there, and in that accident she have an head injury. Due to the head injury, she was total unconscious. So she was admitted in one of the hospital in Pune city, and treatment was going on that body. But still, after 5 or 6 days, she didn't. She was still in the unconscious state, and there are no signs of any consciousness there. So the relatives of that female asked the hospital authority, so we will try some homeopathic medicine on this female. So they called this homeopathic physician. Then that homeopathic physician, when he come to the history of accident, he firstly tried the remedies which are specially having history of accident or the injury here, say for the arnica, calendula, hypericon, leadenhorn. So he tried the similar drugs from that which are specific drugs for injury in bone. But still the condition was the same. The female was in unconscious state. So suddenly the doctor come to know that her constitution is pulsatilla. Why not to try the constitutional remedy for this condition? So he know her constitutional drug was the pulsatilla. And though these incidents happens after 3 years, as I say, constitution is the same, remains same or constancy or static state. So he gave the pulsatilla drug to that female, and after repeating the drug for every 1 hourly, after 8 hours, she showed some signs of the consciousness there, and after 48 hours, she came in the totally in the conscious stage there. So what I mentioned there, so the constitution will play important role in the therapeutics also. So sometimes in case of the endocrine diseases or which are having endocrine origin, generally the holistic physician will prefer the constitution remedy there, because their diseases are developed due to the cellular and the humoral activity of the person there. So there are some effects on the psychological effect on the secretions of the endocrine glands, and that is why some diseases are developed there. So these diseases may be well cured by the giving the constitutional drug to the patient. So that is why constitution has its own importance there. So the constitution may help you for the therapeutic person. Okay, then what is the significance of the constitution or importance of the constitution? Now, each constitution is characterized by certain signs whose presence enables the physician to have full knowledge of the psychosomatic entity. Okay, so each constitution is characterized by certain signs there whose presence enables the physician to have full knowledge of the psychosomatic entity. Then the constitution is related. The constitution is related, a constitution of the patient or a person, it is related to a particular or certain chemical status which can be observed by biochemical investigation, which can be observed by studying of the biochemical investigation. So each person is dominated by a particular chemical element. So each constitution of the patient, it has a particular or certain chemical status which can be observed by doing the biological study there. So then the objective signs of the each constitution may match to some hereditary manifestations which are expressed physically, dynamically, and the and the physiological effects. So what are the physiological, dynamic, or the physical effects that take place on the genetic characteristic? It may match to the different signs, different objective signs of the environment. So what are the objective signs which are the visible structure? That is the physical and the mental structure of the person. So objective signs of the constitution of patient may match to certain hereditary factors which are expressed through the dynamical, physical, and the psychological effects. So here, this is the importance of what we say about the significance or importance of the constitution. So each constitution is characterized by certain signs whose presence enables the physician to have full knowledge of the psychosomatic entity, that is physical and psychological. Both study you can get about the patient. Secondly, each constitution of the patient, it is related to a particular chemical status which can be observed by study of the biochemical investigation. And thirdly, the objective signs of the constitution may match certain hereditary manifestations, which are expressed through physical, dynamic, and the psychological effects. So that is you get importance of the constitution. Just I mentioned constitution may help you in the therapeutic person if you are able to try to find out the constitution of patient. This constitution may match to the certain drug there, and if you find the constitutional remedy of the patient, it will remain forever there. So you can try that remedy at any part of the life of the appointed person. Okay, then there Dr. von Gravel, the French German homeopathic physician. The German homeopathic physician von Gravel, he classified the constipation into three types, but his classification is totally based on the fundamental elements of the living matter. So his classification is depend on the four fundamental chemical elements of the living matter. So his classification depends on four fundamental chemical elements of universe, say the carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen. So the whole Gravel, he classified the constitution into three types, namely carbonitrogenate, hydrogenoid, and the oxygenate. Now, carbonitrogenate type of constitution, here it is characterized by slow oxidation. It is characterized by slow oxidation, and there will be discharge or overcharge by metabolism process of the secretion. So in this partition, you get more secretion of the body there. You get more secretions of the body there, and person have capacity that tissues of the person absorb oxygen in very small quantity. So there will be the insufficient absorption of the oxygen there. So the carbon nitrogenate constitution, it is characterized by slow oxidation. Then there will be overcharge by metabolism of the secretion there. So and here there is the tissues will absorb very less oxygen. So this is about what we say about the carbon nitrogenate. Then the hydrogenate constitution. Hydrogenate constitution, it is characterized by slow intake of nutrition, puffiness, and retention of water in the tissues. And their person is very much susceptible to the humidity. So hydrogenate constitution, it is characterized by the slow intake of the nutrition, puffiness, and the retention of the water in the tissues, and person is very susceptible to the humidity. Then the third type, that is the oxygenated constitution. So oxygenated constitution, it is characterized by overactivity, rapid assimilation, easy retraction and emaciation, and there will be dryness of the skin and the mucous membrane. So here oxygenated constitution, it is characterized by overactivity, as in hydrogenide you get slow activity, but oxygenide constitution you get overactivity, rapid assimilation and easy retraction and the emaciation, and there will be dryness of the skin and the mucous membrane. So on this basis of the constitution, you may find some miasmatic relation of that particular person. So somehow these three constitutions, it may have some resemblance with the different chronic miasm. Say oxygenated constitution, it have relation with the soda, hydrogenide with the syphilis, and carbonitrogenide with the psychosis miasm. So these are the classification according to German homeopathic physician, that is the Von Grauwalder. Then the French homeopathic physician Leon Vanier, he has also classified the constitution in different types there, again based on the chemical predominance or chemical elements predominant on the body there. So he classified the constitution in main three types, that is the fluoric, carbonic and the phosphoric type. So which element is predominant in that particular person. Accordingly, you can come to know about the fluoric, carbonic and phosphoric constitution. Now we will discuss in short what are the features of the fluoric constitution. So in fluoric constitution, body of the person is lean, weak and asymmetrical. Person's body is lean, weak and asymmetrical. Attitude of person is very irregular and he always walk irregular. He always walk irregular. The gesture or the gesture of the person, it is ample, useless, awkward and the disorder. So gesture of this person is ample, awkward, disordered and usual because his body is lean and asymmetrical. Then the limbs are medium and bony, hands are flexible, distended and supple, lines are superficial, fine and the numerous there. But most important features, the fingers, they are flexible and the pointed there. Then the mental features of the fluid constitution, person is unstable. The person is unstable or agitated because he cannot take the proper decision. He always wants the change. So he is not in position to take the proper decision. And if he take any decision, he always wants to try to change that decision. So he is unstable or very much agitated. So he is unstable. Then he is intuitive. That is, he has involved some capacity or certain skills are there. Intuitive, capricious. He works very good, but according to his own way, rules and regulation are not applied to that particular because he is capricious and he is versatile, that is all round. So he is intuitive, versatile and capricious. But main feature, as he is unstable, he cannot continue with one thing. He always wants change there. So these particular person, they always change their profession there or always change the working condition or working spot of that person. So these persons, they are unstable. So here, these particular person, as they physically weak there, they cannot undergo very long lessons. They should be guided by taking very short lessons so he can understand and he can do much more better. Now, the second type is the carbonic type. Second type is the carbonic type. Here, the body is short limb. The body is short limb and square. Attitude is rigid. Person is firm and hard here. So person takes the decision very quickly and he is very much firm to that decision. Though his decision is wrong also, he will stick to that decision. So attitude is very rigid. He is firm and very strict there. Movements are very rigid, regular, and he always walks on his heel. Gesture is sober, precise, and utilitarian. Then the person is guided by the reasoning, sense of responsibility, and right thinking. So these particular persons are the responsible citizen of a nation there. Suppose now in COVID-19, government has certain restrictions to be followed there. So these people will follow these rules very correctly because they have sense of responsibility, right thinking, and the reasoning there. So they are guided by the reasoning, right thinking, and sense of the responsibility. These persons are stubborn. These particular person, they are very much stubborn, straight, and reasonable. So they always speak the truth in front of the people. They are all straight there. They are stubborn and reasonable. And as they are physically very strong, they generally like the sports like the rugby, fencing, boxing, or the wrestling there, where physical contact of person is there. But the Floric constitution, he do not like such games. He will like the games or the indoor games like the chess, caroms, or the other thing there, playing cards. So, but the carbonic constitution, as he physically strong, he prefers the sports like the rugby, wrestling, fencing, or the boxing. Okay. Then the third type, the phosphoric type of constitution. Here, body is long limbed, attitude is supple, gracious, and pleasant. Attitude is supple, gracious, and pleasant, and he always likes the elegance there. He always likes the elegance. He walks the right, he walks light, rapid, and the gracious. Fingers are gracious and tapered. Fingers, they are gracious and tapered there. Mentally, he is nervous, sensitive, and imaginative. The person is sensitive, nervous, and imaginative. He is artist, emotive, and the dreamer. He is artist, dreamer, and emotive there. Then he does not like either rule or the regularity. He does not like the rule or the regularity. Generally, he prefers the profession that require the rapid reflexes, skill, and the imagination. As these are dreamer, they are imaginative and artists, so they are always thinking of some creative nature there because they will have imagined certain things they put in the artistic way, and they are the dreamer there. So that is why they prefer the profession where rapid reflexes are required, when the skill is required, or where the imagination is required, as in the architecture field. In the architecture field, when you have to draw the graph of the a particular building there. That is, so here it requires the imagination or whatever dream the person has. So you have to put the dream of the person in that particular architecture act. So these particular persons are the artists there. These are the particular person. They are artists. They are the head of the group, and they are good leader because they are attitude is very gracious, impressive there. So that is why they always influence on the person. They always like the elegance there because that is why they have much more impressive personality. That is why they become a group of the head of the group, or they can work as a good leader, and they have some new ideas, some creative new ideas will be there in that particular person. So these are in short about the Leon Vanier's constitution. One is Curie constitution, second is carbonic constitution, and third is the phosphoric constitution. So in short, To revise about the constitution, constitution is nothing but the physical makeup of the body. It is defined as structural, constant creating build of the individual. It has some genetic origin or it has got some hereditary characteristic. Then the risk of the disease condition. It is not to be found only in environmental factors, but it also should be observed in the individuality of the person with through the evolved or hereditary constitution of the person. Then there are certain effects of the person with their own constitution due to the developmental phases through which person has passed to reach his now present personality. So what are the phases through which person has passed since birth? What are the phases through which person has passed to reach his present personality? It is also important. And the well-formed body, it does not mean you are having a healthy person. So it is not related according to laws of the health. So here the constitution or the physical makeup, it is something more than the well-formed body. It is something more than the well-formed body. So the person having weak constitution, he may suffer from the disease condition. So also person having very strong constitution or good constitution, good body structure, he may also suffer from the disease condition. Then the person has constitution may be have affected by genetic or the hereditary characteristic due to the chromosome factor. Parent pass on chromosome to the child, so the person have much more similarity in his physical structure about the parents there, and sometimes parents person may have similarities according to their grandparents. So we have one of our classmates. His name was Yashwant Pandurang Patil, and his father's name was Pandurang Keshwan Patil because his name was given after his grandparent, and it is rural area. It was supposed that grandfather take the rebirth in the form of grandson. So his name was Yashwant Pandurang Patil, and his father's name was Pandurang Yashwant Patil. So you can get some similarities with the grandparents. Then it has also got some therapeutic usefulness of the constitution there. Then there are significance there. Each constitution is characterized by certain signs whose presence enables the physician to have full knowledge of the psychosomatic entity of the individual. Each constitution of the patient is related to a particular chemical status which can be studied by biochemical investigation. Then objective signs of the constitution, they match to the different hereditary manifestations accordingly. So these are the significance or importance. Von Grauel, he classified the constitution in three types, that is the carbonitrogenide, oxygenide, and the hydrogenide. Carbonitrogenide constitution, it is characterized by slow oxidation, then the overcharge of secretion by metabolism, and tissues absorb very less oxygen. Hydrogenide constitution, it is by the slow characterized by slow intake of nutrition, puffiness, and retention of water in the tissues there. And there his persons are very susceptible to the humidity. Oxygenate constitution, it is characterized by overactivity, rapid assimilation, easy retraction, and emaciation, and there is the dryness of skin and the mucous membrane. So these three types, carbon, nitrogenide, hydrogen, and oxygen, it may have some similarity to our chronic myasthenia, say psoriasis, syphilis, and psychosis. Then the French homeopathic physician, he classified the constitution in the three types, that is the fluoric, carbonic, and the phosphoric type there, which has what some facial feature there. Fluoric constitution, person is lean and us body is lean and asymmetrical. These are very weak person. Gesture or the attitude is very ample, useless, disorder, or the awkward there. Then person is unstable, They cannot take proper decision there. They always want the change. They cannot continue with one thing there. But they are intuitive, they are capricious, and they are versatile there. So they cannot continue with one thing. They always want some change, and they should be followed by the long lesson, but they should be followed by very short courses because physically they are very weak. So generally they prefer the indoor games. Carbonic constitution body is physically is very strong. Then he generally very strict and firm there. He is very rigid. Walking is very rigid, regular, and always walks on the hill. Then he is emotive or he is always guided by the reasoning, sense of responsibility, and the right thinking there. And as he is physically strong, he do not prefer the work which require more skill or the rapid reflexes. If more physical work is there, he will prefer that particular. And accordingly, he prefers the sports like fencing, boxing, wrestling, or the rest. And last type, that is the phosphoric type of constitution. The body is long lived. They are gracious, they are pleasant, and attitude is pleasant, gracious, and they like the elegance. So they are imaginative, nervous, sensitive. They are dreamer, artist. So they will have some creative aspect. They generally prefer the profession which require rapid reflexes, skill, and the imagination. So, so this is the end of lecture. Thank you very much. So this is the end of the lecture. If any student have any question, he may ask.